Hi, I'm Big Jim O'Brien. Welcome into Big Jim's Garage. You are taking a test drive on the lunar landscape that we call the roads here in Detroit in the 2018 Volkswagen Atlas SUV. This is their first three-row SUV, architecture that debuted, I think, back in 2013. And we've seen it with the Touareg and some of the other ones, but the Atlas is really a full-size, honest SUV. And it's pretty damn impressive. To give you a little backstory, last week I was filming another vehicle and driving around on the roads here. We have the worst pothole problem in the history of Michigan. Seriously, the roads here are just absolutely devastated from the thaw and freezing back and forth. So what has happened is we wind up not only with bumpy roads, but holes everywhere that are just eating tires and cracking wheels. The VW Atlas, bulletproof, man. This thing is a tank. It eats potholes for lunch. It's stable too. You can see as the camera's shaking, that's the road that we're driving on. That's kind of how it's translating through the glass that we have the GoPro mounted on. Some vehicles tend to load up. When you hit potholes and dips repeatedly, the shocks, the spring, the suspension loads up, and then eventually the car itself, I'm not saying uncontrollable, but it doesn't translate to steering and it just feels unstable. The Atlas is the polar opposite of that. It's all the way at the other end of the spectrum. It is so controlled when you're driving it. This vehicle weighs anywhere between 4,200 and 4,400 pounds based on all-wheel drive, and if you get the six-cylinder, which you should get. So it's a heavy vehicle, which we'll get to in a second. But as far as a driving vehicle and an SUV, it's one of the best handling SUVs I've driven in a long time. I spent some time with, as an example, the Mazda CX-9. Nice car, but it felt long, and also, even with all-wheel drive, I didn't feel as comfortable as I did driving this car on the same roads with front-wheel drive. That's how good the Atlas is. Now, underneath the hood, as you can see right here, you got a four-cylinder. You can get the six as well. Get the six. The four-cylinder, like I said, this vehicle is well over 4,000 pounds, and it's working. It's working. You got plenty of power once it gets going, but the initial bump, that initial drive, it's not fun. It just feels underpowered. And I know it's not, and part of it is our ears are so used to hearing low RPMs because we have 8-speed, 9-speed, 10-speed transmissions that when a car does work a little bit and gets up over 3,000, you think you're blowing your motor up. You're really not. But again, it's that sound. I would get the 6. You can pull more with it. It just seems to make more sense for a vehicle this size that odds are you're going to have at least 4 people. You're going to road trip in this thing. You're going to load stuff up. You can put 5,000 pounds if you have the tow package and the larger motor as well. So get the 6. As far as the looks on it, I like the looks. I love the front end of this. It's definitely Volkswagen, and that's okay with me. And it is a big vehicle. When you're driving this, the first thing you're going to notice is how wide it feels, the glass. And part of that is they took these A-pillars over here, and they brought them back just a little bit, which gives you more of a scope. It's almost like a curved TV kind of thing, and that's a great thing, because a lot of times A-pillars, to me, are really in the way. Room inside, I'm 6'5". Dude, ton of headroom. You can see the center console here, the VW infotainment center. Everything works perfectly. It's a Volkswagen. Everything's where it needs to be. It's smart. It's not Spartan. Some people said, well, there's not a lot in here. Well, there is. It's just not laid out all over the place. It's intelligently designed. The room, look at Ryan hopping in the back seat. You've got 3 rows of seating, but the second row is one of the most comfortable second rows in an SUV I've seen. Compares to the Honda Pilot, I would put it up there against anything. The third row, you can see here, we'll fold it down. It's super simple. Third row, actually, full-size kids you can get in there. If you're not too tall as an adult, you wouldn't have a problem. You can put 7 people in this thing comfortably. And for road tripping, you're going to have 4 people in here, plus tons of room in the back. USB plugs front and back, everything you need. Apple CarPlay, you got it there too. If there's one thing I would say about this, the steering, for me personally, as big as this vehicle is, and maybe that's a problem with the 4-cylinder, sometimes it feels mushy to me, just a little bit. And the other thing I would work on if I was Volkswagen, again, these are minor things. I wish somebody, and I say this all the time, could figure out a way to make plastic below the belt, down there, down below, down there, to make it a little bit better. Because it just looks to me like the kind of material you're going to scrape the hell out of in a couple weeks. If you could put a plastic liner or something on that, that'd be great. Everything else for this vehicle, again, it eats potholes for lunch. This is a safe, reliable, comfortable ride. I get why people are going to buy these things like crazy. It's a great SUV. Everything about it. The trim inside, it looks clean. It's exactly what you'd expect in a Volkswagen. So, get the bigger motor, get the all-wheel drive, and go look at an Atlas. If you're thinking about getting a large SUV, you're going to be well under 40 grand by the time you're done with this. And in this competitive market, this is definitely one to consider. The Volkswagen Atlas, once again, 3 rows, all-wheel drive option, 6-cylinder over the 4. Got it? Good. My name's Big Jim O'Brien. You can listen to me here at WCSX radio station here in the Motor City. Follow on YouTube as well, obviously. And make sure you subscribe right up there on the link. And then you can also follow me on Twitter at WCSX Jim. We got sunshine in the Motor City. I'm going to go find me some potholes. Have a great day.